My entitled aunt wants my life because she couldn't have a daughter.
That's my life. Get your own.
Hey, get your hands off my life. I've got to admit, my poor dad has told me numerous stories of my entitled aunt Sarah, 50, female, fake name. So I wanted to write these down because there are a few I want to remember before I, 21 female, forget. They're in chronological order. Ooh, very impressive, OP.
Love that.
By the way, this comes from user Skeleton1851, and you can submit your stories on the r/OK Storytime subreddit. So, here's some background. My entitled aunt, Sarah, is the eldest of 3 kids. There's her, and then my aunt Tori, I gotta keep the aunts and the aunts consistent here. My aunt Tori, 47 female, and my dad, 46 male. All players have their own kids. Sarah has 3 boys, which is important for later. Tori has 3 girls, and my dad has a boy and a girl. Feel free to share. I'd be happy to share more stories as my entitled aunt isn't the only entitled woman in my family. Here's the beginning. Sarah was deemed the brain of Britain growing up, always top of her class and never getting into bother at school. So she willingly stayed until the last year of high school so she could get better grades to go to university. Mind you, this is in the 80s, and I don't really know if there was tuition covered in Scotland, but I doubt it. So, Sarah declared she would be taking a gap year to work and go to university the following year at 19. However, she met her future husband, Buttface. That's what he will be known as. And he was from a decently well-off family. This is what my aunt Tori declares is the start of her entitlement, since Buttface told her she never had to work a day again if they got married. They didn't marry until 2 years later, but Buttface gave Sarah the life she wanted and felt she deserved after a childhood of poverty and hiding from social workers. Fair to say, she never did apply for university at 19, or any point after that. My grandfather, her father, was so angry with her because he felt she was wasting her future for a life of sitting about. Obviously, Sarah didn't care.
Britain.
Sarah's the brain of Britain, and she used that big brain to get herself a sugar daddy. On to the marriage and children here. Yes, Buttface and Sarah did get married, and it was a lovely affair, apparently. I didn't even know. I wasn't born yet. Now, I should mention that my entitled aunt is incredibly religious, and this was brought on more by her marriage. She had to wait until she was married to have a child because, quote, the elders in the church will speak so badly if I had a child out of wedlock. Woman, this was the 90s in Scotland.
The elders in the church would have...
The elders in the church. Was everyone just having babies out of wedlock in Scotland in the 90s? I mean, it was the 90s in Scotland.
Who wasn't having babies?
Oh, yeah, what? In the mid-90s, Sarah announced she was expecting a baby boy with Buttface, and the family went insane. This was my first grandchild.
Could grandchild be mistaken as like
grandnephew?
I don't know. Let's keep going and see if it makes sense.
Yeah, okay. But then Tori also announced she was pregnant 2 weeks later and announced it was a baby girl. This set off Sarah because she developed a sick obsession with having a girl. Before the end of the 90s, Sarah had managed to have the firstborn and 2 boys. Tori managed to have 2 girls, and Nick had my older brother. So 5 grandkids in total. After the millennium, my dad had announced that my mom was pregnant again, and so did Tori, which was unexpected. So just a few months apart, I was born in May and my little cousin in September. Now, you'll never guess what Sarah did. She got pregnant again.
Sarah.
She's just like, I want to join in on the pregnancy fun.
Like, everyone's getting pregnant with me.
Everyone
But
was
little old
having
me.
a little baby.
I'm making a little baby.
She was told during the scans that she was having a girl, and she was ecstatic. However, the doctor was beyond stupid, and my youngest cousin ended up being a boy. She was so depressed and turned on her sister and brother. She berated her sister and brother for having children out of wedlock and saying that they were going to the bad place and deserved to burn for rubbing it in her face that they managed to have girls. This actually caused no contact for a few months between my dad and Sarah. However, this all changed once we started to visit her. Quote, "Give me your daughter. She's my golden child." Apparently that is a quote from OP's aunt. Surprisingly, I do remember this, despite being like 4 years old. By this point, my parents were married, so the wedlock issue stopped, but Sarah had become quite possessive over me over the last year. When I saw her, I had to stick by her side or stay within reach of her. I was lucky my 2 older cousins told her to go do one. in young kids speech so I could go play Pokemon and watch Power Rangers with them. I'm assuming that that's slang for just like, buzz off.
I buzz
Oh, why don't you go do one? That's not Scottish, to be clear.
This
That was
is
just
Brit-
British. That was just British.
Greater Britain. Nah, it's
Which is
I
not the
feel
same
really-
as Scotland.
Stop.
Little bad.
I feel really bad for OP's, I think, cousins, because Sarah's like, oh, I love you, OP. You're like the best. And she's like, I don't care about my sons at all.
This
so
is
sad.
unhinged behavior from the auntie here, most definitely.
Kimberly Holly says, I just kept having kids until I had a girl. I think that's fine. It's just the act of like being like, oh, dang, I hate this kid because it's not the gender I
Yeah, well,
wanted.
it's like we read a story yesterday that was
that's
like
messed up.
a parent where they were just like, they didn't expect to have twins, and they were just like, we'll give away the one that doesn't have the blue eyes.
That's insane.
It's like,
Oh,
what is wrong
I
with
hate
you?
that one. Yeah.
Yeah. On one visit, nearly at my 5th birthday, I was downstairs with my little cousin, and we were playing when my dad told me to get my shoes on so we could get home for dinner. I remember looking up and seeing Sarah death glare at my dad. Now, this is 16-year-old memories mixed in with paraphrasing from my dad, but this is the exchange that supposedly happened. Sarah says, "Go home. I told you I wanted her to stay the night." Dad: "Sarah, I told you already, she's going to go see Tori and the girls tomorrow." And Sarah, she scoffs.
You're prioritizing your nieces again? I told you, Nick. She's my golden child. She's mine. She's going to stay here tonight so we can have a girls' night.
Sarah. Oh my God, will you shut up about this? You never got a girl. Get over it. She's my daughter, so if you don't shut up, I'll make sure you never see her again. Fair to say, I was able to go home with my dad, and I didn't really see my cousins for a few months. It was on and off visits until I was about 7, and then they moved up north for Buttface's job. Out of wedlock bites Sarah on her behind. This has got to be a fan favorite tale of mine, mainly because I was there to witness it. Now, my eldest cousin A was 19 at this time, so I was 13. I had seen him the previous week for a visit, and he told me that he's going to be announcing some really good news on a family group call. As soon as I joined the call, I was lambasted by Sarah for wearing a football top and told to change it. She hated that I was not the once innocent little girl she knew, but a tomboy. However, that is for another day. Now, I sat with my dad and my brother whilst A joined the call with his girlfriend P. We're going to have Alvin and
Portia.
Portia and Alvin. Okay. We thought he was announcing an engagement. Nope. Alan and Portia announced that they were pregnant and expecting a baby in November, and they're going to name it Alorcia.
I see you. It's going to be a baby girl. And Sarah's going to be like, it's mine.
I see you. She's going to sneak in there and steal that baby.
She's going to do it like Tangled style.
Mm,
And then she's going to lock the child in a tower and
With-
steal youth.
she's going to give her kooky magical powers. And she's going to use her kooky magical powers to
And
do
she's going to
kooky
fall out
things.
of a tower and turn to dust.
I screamed in delight at the news. My dad was proud of Alvin, and my brother was so pleased. My granddad already knew. Sarah and Buttface looked pale, about to faint, and started screaming at Alvin. Sarah demanded that we leave the call, and we did. I was horrified at her reaction, but my dad told me not to worry, and this is how I was told the previous stories I have mentioned above. Sarah was seriously so entitled because she wanted everything her way, and the fact her eldest son was having a child before the age of 20 with his girlfriend of 9 months and refused to get married set her off. Alvin had to cut contact from Portia being 3 months pregnant until just before his daughter was born. I was like, did Alvin cut off his own?
No, I think-
It sounded like he cut off Portia, but
It
he
did.
didn't. He cut off the aunt.
Yes.
You'd never believe now that Sarah is a doting grandmother to the now 6-year-old daughter of Alvin after all she put her son through. I've actually yet to meet her in the flesh. I've only met her on video call. That's just life when you're 200 miles apart. Bragging about your lifestyle at a wedding? So all of these have been different stories. To be
Yeah.
clear, all of these are little bullet points, little
vignettes.
little windows into the entitlement of OP's auntie.
It's all about her wanting children, kind of.
Yeah.
It's like the through line.
Oh, the through line is she's
She
like,
wants a girl.
"You despicable beasts are having children out of wedlock."
This is ridiculous. Give
Which
me your
is
kids.
Low key, what she
Ridiculous.
did,
Yeah.
right? Low key, already what she did.
Did she? Oh, yeah.
She did it at the beginning, and then they got married. I think.
Oh, but I think what she's really upset with is that they're not getting married. because they don't have plans to get married, it seems like. And so she's like, this is ridiculous.
Just find yourself a man in the 80s who'll tell you you'll never have to work another day in your life. Now, this is a more recent story. My dad attended his cousin's wedding about 4 years ago, and Sarah was actually invited. No idea who thought that was a good idea. To preface this story, I need to explain something. Do you remember how I said Sarah was promised to never work again once she married Buttface? Yeah, that backfired. So it turns out Buttface lost his high-paying job and was forced into a crappy office job for a few years. Because Sarah couldn't live her lifestyle, she had to get a job for the first time in 26 years and was brought back down to earth. It was a humbling experience for her. Now, I wasn't at this wedding, but my dad informed me that Sarah was showing how entitled she was again. She sat with a cousin of theirs, my dad and my mom, and began to detail how they were going back home to go on a yacht. No, not their yacht, their friend's yacht. And not a yacht, but a decent-sized boat. This lasted 45 minutes, and the cousin had to walk away before telling her to F off and save this for a more appropriate occasion. And by the way, it's always an appropriate occasion for you to listen to full episodes with stories like this. And all you need to do to find them is go to Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to things. Just search up OK Storytime. I don't really think this is like a story looking for advice, but I mean, my advice would definitely be to
Cut this lady off.
not let this lady be around your kids.
Yeah, moral of the story, don't let this lady around your kids. She might be the brain of Britain, but not a good idea to bring her around your kids.
To conclude, my dad hasn't actually seen Sarah in about 3 years. They never spoke for 10 years because my dad realized how one-sided their relationship was. He decided after she moved to not text her and see how long it would take for her to text him. From when he did that, she hasn't ever texted him once. Dad only speaks to Alvin and doesn't bother with Sarah's other sons. My brother talks to all 3 of them. I only talk to Alvin as well, as he's helping me with some uni stuff. Sarah will never change. She never thanked us for her 50th birthday posts or the present and card that we sent up to her. She hates the fact that I'm the first granddaughter to go to university and pushed one of her sons to be a teacher too. Screw you, Sarah. You just prioritize your own lifestyle and instead of loving your nieces and nephew. And that's
And that's that.
the end of that story.
Woo!